there's this mention of jobs like black jobs and green jobs, and I don't understand. You did something about green jobs, and then Michelle Obama said something about black jobs, and I don't understand what that is. So I was asking about clarity on that, and then my comment was about safe jobs, because as a healthcare provider, there is a lot of incidents of abuse and even violence against nurses and doctors. Recently, a lady doctor in Calcutta was murdered and brutally raped, and I wanted to pay respects to that position. So that was just like something that if you can make a comment about that. And the second question I had was what initiatives or policy upgrades the next president, whether it is Harris or Trump, have to consider taking for to allow more women to carry and hold wealth on this planet. Because I feel that if more women became billionaires, they will be able to come together to solve the world problems better. And my comment on that question was that about the recent billionaire who donated $1 billion to Einstein School of Medicine in Bronx, which is a community where healthcare workers are needed sorely. So, just as an example of this, and I respectfully disagree with one of the sentences you use, that wealth is a curse, because I feel that wealth is not a curse. The way it is used can be a curse to humanity. So, so we shouldn't call wealth a curse, because wealth is a great thing we have created, and it allows us to focus on a certain problem that can help mankind. So thank you for letting me speak my questions, and I hope you can answer them.
I'll do my best to answer all of them. I'll start with black jobs and green jobs. And so the comment comes from originally Donald Trump, who in his criticism of the Biden immigration policy, I'm all geared up to talk about something else. So give me a moment to shift gears. His claim is that immigrants are taking black jobs, right? I mean, that's the original reference to black jobs. And I think I might have mentioned I saw a shirt in Brooklyn a while back that I liked a lot. My black job is voting, right? And Michelle Obama, in her speech at the Democratic nominating convention, asked rhetorically whether or not Trump realized that the job he was applying for might be a black job, i.e. being president of the United States. And so all of that to say, the idea that there are black jobs and that immigrants are taking black jobs has a long racist history, right? And so going back to Social Security, the Southern senators excluded certain categories of jobs from receiving Social Security benefits because they were black jobs, and they didn't want to suggest that blacks had full and equal rights with whites in the United States. And Trump, I think, used that term, in a way that reflects his background. And on the other hand, in a way that probably didn't intend to be totally racist. He's tried to clarify it since then. But then Michelle Obama and others have been trying to hold him to account for having assumptions about what kind of jobs are black jobs in the American economy. In the slide and the comment that you're referring to, Sophia, where I referred to green jobs, that's a totally different idea, right? You put me in mind of black and greens chocolate when you bring those two together. Green jobs are, of course, creating jobs that are related to transitioning to a greener economy, a more sustainable economy, an economy in which our production of energy and use of energy is less dependent on burning fossil fuels, which pollutes the environment and contributes to greenhouse gases that are ultimately threatening climate warming or the long-term habitability of the planet. So you also spoke a little bit about the curse of wealth, and I want to be as clear as possible. I tried to be clear in what I said about the idea that the curse of wealth is at the societal level, not the individual level. So the economists, right, who talk about the curse of wealth are suggesting that in the 21st century, a society doesn't get wealthier without going or becoming more unequal. That's the fundamental claim, right? And so I'm not claiming that some individuals don't do good things with their wealth. And at the very end of the lecture on Sunday, I was proposing actually that we have universal basic wealth in our society following Thomas Piketty's suggestions, right? That we give everybody, say, 100,000 or 200,000 start of life fund based on having much more progressive inheritance and bequeathment taxation. So not individual wealth, but the wealth of society cannot be accumulated without generating greater inequality. And therefore, in the 21st century, we have to attack inequality more aggressively, not just through income, but also through wealth accumulation taxes that redistribute to equalize our society and to create a fairer, more humane economy. That comes to your third question, right, which is about safe jobs. And I do think that there are two issues that come together here um, in the case in India. One of them is the gender norms in our society. And do we treat women as fully equal and equally deserving of personal safety and bodily integrity? And I think part of the problem with societies like India is you have large portions of the population who are not only hostile to women being doctors, but who view doing sexual violence to women as the appropriate way to punish them for their efforts to achieve greater equality, right? And I don't think we have that kind of extreme problem in the United States to the extent that India has it. But having said that, yes, we need much greater participation of women in both the top tiers of our economy. And so while women have made tremendous progress over the last 25 years, it still is the case that more than 90% of the men, for instance, who are partners in the major law firms are men, right? And so there's needs to improve in that respect. And then this question about whether or not women use wealth better than men use wealth. And I'll say two things about this. The first is I teach at a college that was for its first 70 years of existence a women's college. And it's an underfunded college precisely because, well, at least in part, women don't tend to control bequeathment decisions, right? Men tend to give to their colleges the family's wealth. And so Sarah Lawrence has suffered as a result. Um, and then more generally, the finding of development economics, which is that when you give money to men, they tend to spend it on themselves and often on economically unproductive goods, right? They do things to enhance their status through their consumption. They don't invest it in improving themselves, their family, increasing their mobility, starting a business. Whereas when you give it to women, women invest in their children, invest in education, invest in starting a business. And this has become really important in development literature. How do you give to women in societies like India that are patriarchal without upsetting the local norms, without bringing violence down on these women, yet recognizing that if you are able to get the money in the hands of women, that actually can have much greater impacts on development, especially through microfinance.